8. I believe we are live. I could be wrong. Hi, hello everyone. Hope you are all well. And anyone who is talking, please let me know if you can hear me. Please let me know if you can't hear me, because hopefully you definitely heard that. So please let me know if you can or can't hear me, because this is the first time we're ever going live. So I don't know whether or not the setup is working or not. So please let me know if you can or cannot hear me. I do believe it's working. I could be wrong, but I believe it's working. So I believe there's a few of you watching already. So hello to everyone. Like I said, this is actually our first time going live, so we're not too sure what to do. There's no real structure. And it is kind of like a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to pop them in the comments and I will answer as many of them for you as I can. We did actually put a message out ages ago saying if anyone has any questions that they want to ask early that we can ask during the live, please let us know. And I only got one question out of everyone, so I'm not too sure if anyone actually wants to see anything. Hello, Patrick. How are you, darling? Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Quaffle's very excited to see you too. For anyone who can't see her, Lyra is over by the cage over there. She's more in a foraging mood than in a show and tell mood today. Quaff, you want to come here? Come. You want to stay there? You want to stay there? She likes it on her perch. Come on, come say hi to everyone. There you go. So we've got Quaffle with us mainly today, and Lyra's over at the back foraging. So Quaffle will do that a lot. Teddy, hello. How are you? How are you feeling? Are you okay today? Because I know you've not exactly had the best time recently. Coffee. Oh, now you join us, Lyra. She's realised there's treats. She's realised there's treats, and now she's joining us. Good girls. You going back to your perch? Yeah, going back to perches. So they're being very good girls so far today. You got it? Yep. So yes, if anyone does have any questions about parrots, about pioneers, about anything in between, please feel free to answer them or ask them in the comments. And I will, like I said, I will do my best to answer as many as I can for you. The only question we actually got before we started this live is, do pioneers talk, or do pioneers have the ability to talk? And the answer to that is yes, pioneers do have the ability to talk to some degree. So just like any other parrot, they have the ability to mimic. Lyra and Quaffle actually mimic quite a lot of sounds, quite a lot of whistles, quite a lot of noises. They don't tend to mimic direct voices, but then again, males do tend to actually make more noise and mimic more than female birds. And because they're both females, they're less likely to mimic actual words, but they are more likely to mimic noises and whistles and, in Quaffle's case, and screaming. So for anyone who didn't spot in there, that was Jason, their other human, also known as, or they referred to him as Shadow Human on their Instagram. Oh, I'm glad, Teddy. I'm glad just seeing them has actually cheered you up a bit. I really hope you are okay. I really, really do hope you are okay. Hello, I'm getting a new bronze wing P in a couple of months. Oh, congratulations, Terry. Good luck. I love bronze wings. It's like, if you can't already tell, bronze wings are a lot quieter and a lot nicer than certain noisy monsters. You noisy monster. Yes. So, oh, congratulations. I am very excited for you, Terry. Very, very excited for you for getting a little bronze wing. They are wonderful little birds. Have you found a pellet for them that you are happy with yet? The only pellets that I have found that I am somewhat happy with is Tops pellets. I actually got given, or I actually won a few pellets for Quaffle when we actually went to the Pet Parrot Gathering, which was amazing, and it was really, really nice and a great gesture and really nice prizes. But they were all higher in protein percentage than what I would personally like to go for when it comes to pellets. And I have noticed immediately that as soon as I've tried them on it, Quaffle's hormones have been through the roof. So she has been a very horny bird. She's been sitting on my shoulder with her horny honks on an almost nightly basis, and it is getting a little frustrating. So we're sticking with the pellets that we want for now, just to get rid of some of them. But we are going to go back to Tops very shortly. And if you live in America, or if you are able to get shipping from America, there is one in America called Origins Wild Diet. And that is really, really good. It's got all natural ingredients. It's cold pressed, and it's just got such wonderful, fresh ingredients. It's very similar to a dry mix, but in pellet form. And it is so good. The girls absolutely loved it. It was amazing. And we can't get it here in the UK anymore. I'm absolutely heartbroken that we can't get it in the UK anymore. I'm really am gutted. Yeah, Quaffle's angry about it as well. Quaffle's not happy that we can't get it in the UK anymore. So that's a little annoying, but if you are in America, highly recommend Origins Wild Diet. If you're in the UK, we are currently stuck with Tops as the best pellet option for parrots. But Tops does actually have a lot of nutrients and stuff missing from it. So if you are using Tops, then definitely make sure you're adding extra fresh veg and extra fresh fruit to your parrot's diet. Hi, Sherry. How are you? Bubble seal, message retracted. How dare you, Simone? How dare you, anti-fruits? Don't you dare retract your message. You better have a nice cage and toys for your P, Terry. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he definitely does. Fruity Flock! Hello, Shiny. Hello, P sisters. Hello, Fruity Flock. How are you and the fruits doing today? As you can see, Quaffle's very excited to see you. So here's a good fun one. So the usual question we get asked, is Pionus or are Pionus parrots quiet? I'll let you guys be the judge of that one right now. Lyra is very quiet. Very, very quiet. Even now, I don't know if you can... I'm talking about Lyra right now. Do you mind? Even right now, you probably can't quite hear her. She's just making a little purrs just to say she spotted something outside. She's not really making much noise. Usually when we're talking or have the radio on, she makes little random noises. She makes little squeaks, or she'll try and practice some of her mimicking. Whereas Quaffle, well, you can hear Quaffle. You can hear how much she's screaming and how noisy she can be. General rule of thumb, the noisier the household, the noisier the bird. So because I'm talking to you guys, because I am on live right now and we're chatting and we're having a conversation, Quaffle is being far more noisy than usual. At the moment, they're both purring because they've spotted something out the window, probably one of the local sparrowhawks knowing, oh, look, or maybe a local seagull. But yeah, they're currently having a bit of a purr because they spotted something outside. So hopefully someone will be quiet for a minute or two. Yes, maybe just a minute or two. What is quiet? What is quiet indeed? Bird Nerd Sophie, don't apologise for being late. The fact that you've actually bothered to turn up at all, I am very, very grateful for. But what is quiet indeed? Quiet, Fruity Flock knows because she's babysat Quaffle and Lyra a few times now. And she knows Quaffle is not quiet on her noisy days. If, like I said, if the household is noisy, Quaffle is noisy every time without fail. Definitely a no for me. Oh, yes, definitely not. Quiet is not in their agenda. You saw my eye roll that day we flew together. Yes, if anyone hasn't seen the video that Fruity Flock is referring to, it's the Fruity Flock sleepover where Quaffle was very, very excited, very giddy, and was screaming pretty much the entire time. So if you want an idea of just how noisy a Pionus can be, go watch the sleepover video. It's a great example of just how noisy, especially a whitecap, can be. And blueheads, from what I understand, are just as screamy and excitable. Yes, it's a local seagull they spotted. There's a seagull they spotted in the sky. That's why they're making their brrr noises. Quaffle is a sweetheart until she gets vocal. I agree. Quaffle is a sweetheart until she gets vocal, and this is a perfect example of that, isn't it? Yeah. You're burning at seagulls again. Seagulls in the sky again. Yes, Quaffle is a little angel until she gets noisy or hormonal. Hormonal, she gets a little grumpy. I can handle her quite well when she's hormonal. She does tend to bite Jason if he's anywhere near her cage when she's hormonal, especially if we disturb her sleep. If we disturb her sleep, she is so grumpy. Lyra is just dumb bird. Yes, she is. Quick question. When your girls see a magpie, do they scream or lift their wings? Well, Quaffle's actually faced magpies before when we've been out free flying, or should I say the day that Quaffle actually escaped for the first time. She actually flew into a tree and some of the local magpies got very interested and nosy. and so came over to say hello and have a look at what this new random bird was. And Quaffle actually chased them off with her beak. So it was the funniest sight in the world. You just see this little bird sat on this tree, and a magpie coming over, and she just takes one look at it, opens her beak at full length, and just straight towards these 3 magpies, and just they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do at all. But they're not fans of magpies, and they are wary of magpies. So if they see a magpie, they actually usually make this burring sound that you can hear Lyra making at the moment. They usually make that sound if there's a magpie nearby, and tend to try and hide indoors. So even if we're in the garden and they see a magpie in a nearby tree, Lyra tends to shoot straight indoors, and Quaffle hide at the tree in the back of the garden. So that's what they do if they see a magpie. They don't scream or lift their wings. They usually start making a burring noise or fly in the opposite direction. What are them stand behind you? They look good. Do you mean these? The perches? That's their travel perches. So this is basically a camera stand or a tripod stand. So sorry, Quaffle. It's got the 3 bits at the bottom, as you see. I know, I'm sorry. So it's just basic camera tripod stand, and then instead of a camera attachment at the top, it just has the normal screw, and then we screwed. Mind if I take the perch a moment to show people? Come here. Whee! Sorry, Coffee. She actually doesn't mind it when I do this, which is rather funny. There we go. So as you see, the top of it is just a standard camera attachment, and then bye-bye then. This bit right here is basically a piece of wood that we found outside, and brought it home, treated it with some F10 and Virkon S, and then we've basically, to be honest, I need to replace this vet wrap. This vet wrap is a bit old now. I tend to replace the vet wrap once every 3 or 4 months, and it's been a while since I've done it. But at the bottom there, we've basically screwed a camera attachment to the bottom of the stand, and that allows us to quite literally just spin it back on. So they're quite secure, they're quite solid, they don't really move, and they're completely mobile. Yeah, is that better? So they're completely mobile, they're really good, and they're very handy, especially when we're out free flying. They can just fold down and move them around. It's great. Do you not get scared when you are free flying that one or both may not come back? Yes, that is always a fear when free flying. There is always a slight risk that they may fly off. However, if you have put enough training into them, if you have put enough time and effort, and if you are constantly practicing recall training at home, your training should be solid enough so that they will come back to you 99% of the time. With the only times they should fly off, if they fly off at all, is if something spooked them. So, for example, a hawk flew overhead, or if they're getting chased or attacked by a predator, if they're getting chased or attacked by seagulls or crows. 9 times out of 10, that's the reason they fly off. Pionus being canopy birds, we do tend to fly in the trees and the woodlands. We quite often fly with Fruity Flock. We have quite a lot of fun adventures with Fruity Flock. And as part of that, you're making a lot of cute noises now, girls. But as part of flying in the canopy and them being canopy birds, they do have a tendency to automatically fly into a tree. And it's usually the closest or highest tree that they can see. So because we already fly in trees, 98% of the time, if they do get spooked, they just fly straight into a tree. Lyra's recall is almost 100% perfect. If we go out and she spooks, if I say her name, she comes straight back. Every time. I remember the first time she spooked. I think we did released a video about it a few days ago or last week, and I remember my heart dropped when she first spooked, and then she did it again seconds later, and my heart still drops when she spooks. And her recall is still on point. She still comes back every single time. Quaffle, as of yet, has never flew off. She's a very, very lazy flyer. She's very much an A to B free flyer. So she will usually sit in her tree on her favorite branch. She will stay there for about 10-20 minutes, and then she'll start doing some A to B recalls until she's bored, and then we'll go sit and play in the tree again for another 20-30 minutes. Or if we go free flying with a group of people, like we found up in Scotland, she'll just sit in a tree for 3 hours. That'll make her perfectly happy. That's her ideal of free flight, is just sit in a tree and enjoy the view for a few hours while everyone else does the flying. In fact, we've got in the Scotland series videos that will be coming out before the end of the month, I'm going to try and get the first one out next week, hopefully. But in our Scotland holiday videos, our very, very first day in Scotland, Lyra had a massive spook because of Quaffle. And Mango actually spooked with her, and Mango ended up flocking together. And Lyra did about 6 or 7 massive loops before coming back. And it was, oh my God, it was absolutely terrifying. Literally terrifying, because at one point she actually went out of view. None of us could see. We were like, shit, where's she gone? And then she came back out again, and she came straight back round and straight down. It was the most terrifying and breathtaking thing I've ever seen. It's free flying is definitely one of those. It's not for everyone, because there is a lot of risks involved, and it is very heart in your mouth at some occasions. But the birds love it. They absolutely adore it. They love the exercise. They love the adventure. They love the freedom. And like I said, if you have put enough training into it, 98% of the time you don't have an issue. And the only time that you do have an issue is when outside elements out of your control can't tend to get involved. I see 2 cages behind. Are they separately caged or just placed there for more space to go when they are foraging? Basically space for them to go foraging. Believe it or not, Quaffle and Lyra are almost completely cageless. By that I mean they spend the majority of their days out of the cage. The only time we tend to put them in the cage is if we're going to have the front door open for a long period of time, and so we're a bit cautious of them getting spooked. So for example, if we're loading the car to go to the tip, so we do tend to shut the living room door. But if for whatever reason we can't shut the living room door, that's pretty much the only time they tend to go in the cage. The cages are their safe space, so they tend to go in and out of it of their own accord. It's their play gym where they play with toys, where we put their foraging toys as well. So they quite enjoy their cages, and we quite often find them napping in their cages if they've had a particularly busy day of foraging. But they don't. We're actually trying to change their cages. We're hoping to get rid of those 2 cages in the back and just get one big aviary in the back corner. But unfortunately, we can't afford it right now. So until we can, we're stuck with the little cages, and the top of the cages are basically like a foraging area or like foraging play space. And then the actual cage themselves is just for the girls to nap in. So if they go inside their cage, we know they don't want to be bothered and disturbed, and they can just nap and chill at their leisure. Otherwise, 9 times out of 10, they're sat out here with me 98% of the time on my shoulder. But because I've got the perches down to try and encourage them to stay here, that's why they're here instead. Seeing magpies out of the window here means the ultimate scream for my flock. Yes, small conures especially do like a good scream when they see a magpie or two. Sophie, or the full flock trigger alarm. Yeah. I wish I was competent enough at DIY to make those. They didn't take much effort, to be honest. It really didn't take much effort. The hardest part was going out and finding the logs, and then we just bought the twist-on camera stands off Amazon and just screwed them in. Honestly, it was ridiculously easy. The hardest part was finding the right size and chunk log. After that, the rest was off Amazon. Really, really easy to do. Not gonna lie. Mine would also chase them on foot since he has his wing clip, but also scream and lift his wings. Oh, really? Usually lifting their wings is a sign of contentment. So they tend to do it. Sorry, Lyra, I know you just came to me then. I didn't give you a treat for it. I'm sorry. So lifting their wings is usually a sign of contentment. It usually means they're happy. It usually means they're chilled. And it usually means that they're having fun, basically having a good time. So lifting their wings is a sign. They probably actually enjoyed the magpies, and probably why he started chasing. They were chasing them on foot and having fun with it all. So you come in. Come in. No, you're working for it. Come on. As you can see, Lyra on point with the recall as always. Quaffle, lazy cow. Are you? Yeah, lazy. I know you're good. Lyra would do this all day if I asked her to. Oh, so you want to go to the other perch? And this is how it is with Quaffle. This is always how it is with Quaffle. Is she would rather fly from A to B to A to B, whereas Lyra will always fly straight to the hand. Always the same. Conure screams are unlike anything else. I highly agree with you there, Sophie and Fruity Flock. Highly agree with you there. Hello, sir. How are you? I love the hello. I love the hello. But yes, Conure screams are very, very different to Pionus screams. You heard Quaffle's screaming earlier. They tend to make that scream when they're excited or there's a lot of noise going on or they're trying to contact call you. That's their main contact call. So if Quaffle ever flies into a tree and I don't know where she is, all I have to do is give a quick whistle and she'll usually make that scream back to me. And that's how I find out where she is. That's the easiest way to locate them, is that noise. They have a very specific, very high pitched scream, which when it goes straight down your ear is pain, real pain. It hurts when that noise is down your ear. But Conure screaming, oh, Nori, Nimbus, and all the Fruity Flock, they just raw. I cannot cope with the Fruity Flock and Nimbus and Nori screams. So this is something to really keep in consideration if you are getting any species of parrot, is can you handle the type of noise that particular parrot makes? So I can handle this. This screaming only takes place maybe 2-3 times a day, and it's usually because something is going on or something is happening. So she's excited and it's like she's giddy. You come in, you're working for it. Yeah, cheater's method every time. But yes, usually they scream because they're excited or having fun or the contact calling. So Pioneers don't really scream a lot. They scream loud. They are very loud, but they don't scream a lot. Whereas Conures, like the Fruity Flock gang, their screams, I would say, are slightly quieter. So they're more tolerable to the ear, but they're constant and they go on for hours and hours and hours. And once one starts and they all go, oh, it's just like an echo chamber. And I personally can't handle it. That's why I chose Pionus over Conyers, is because I can handle 1 or 2 high-pitched screams a day. I can't handle constant noise for 2-3 hours. It's just not my cup of tea at all. Hello, I have seen that my bluehead female gained weight every spring, no matter the amount of food she gets. Do you have some experience with female peas? My guess it is due to hormones. It is partially due to hormones, yes. So because spring is incoming, it is basically hormone season. So they do naturally gain a little bit of weight because they're essentially gaining extra fat because they need to, or as far as the females know, they need to sit on eggs. So I always find Quaffle is 5 grams heavier. She's around 195 during hormone season. So between February and now, like we're just coming towards the tail end of the second hormone season. So between February and now, she tends to weigh about 5 grams heavier. And Lyra also tends to weigh about 5 grams heavier during hormone season. So yes, that is something I have also noticed. So I do believe that is something that's in this. Please cuddle Quaffle. I think she's making little squeak, which is sound my P will make for cuddle. The thing is, Quaffle actually doesn't want cuddles. So you can see now I'm offering my hand to her. She doesn't want to come to me and she doesn't want cuddles right now. Lyra hates cuddles. She is not a cuddly bird, are you? No, you're not a cuddly bird. Quaffle does love cuddles, but Quaffle goes completely silent. And this is one of the interesting facts about Pionus and a lot of parrots in general, is every single one will learn how to communicate with their individual human. And they will learn how to tell that individual human what they want through certain whistles and sounds. So when Quaffle's squeaking like that, she's actually quite happy and chill and content. She's like, yay, I like life. Life is good. That's not a cuddle squeak. When she wants cuddles, she will sit on my shoulder and she will press her beak against my face. That's how I know when Quaffle wants cuddles, is because she'll literally sit there and she'll peel her head round and she'll just go, can I have fusses, please? And so that's when she has cuddles. So I like now I can offer her my hands. Wanna come? She doesn't want to come right now. She doesn't want cuddles. She's actually more interested in training. That's her yay training. I heard the word training whistle. So they know the word training, and that's usually the noise they make when they want training, aka when they want treats for tricks. Come on then, you got to work for it. Thank you. Yes, I know you did a half spin. Well done. So this is usually their training whistle. So when anytime they want training, that's when they make that sort of noise. Wah. So if you go out, do you leave the birds out or cage them? I am extremely lucky. This is not something I personally recommend. 98% of the time, I'd actually recommend to cage the birds. However, with Quaffle and Lyra specifically, I know them so well and they know the house so well and they know what they can and can't touch. I can actually leave them out the cage, but we restrict them to the living room because the living room is the most bird-proof room that is safe for them to be in. So I know I can let them out all day, and I've had cameras on them and everything to see what they get up to in the day. And they literally sit by the window, either on the perches or on their hanging toy that sits in the window, or they'll sit on their little perch here on my desk. And they will just sit there and chill for half of the day, watching outside, waiting for us to come home. The other half of the day, they'll be over by their cage, eating, playing, and foraging. They don't bother with the rest of the house. So because of that, I know I can leave them alone and out of the cage. But majority of parrots and even majority of Pionus, I wouldn't usually recommend that. Definitely learn your bird's behavior, or have a room dedicated to be a bird safe room that you can leave your birds out of cage in. Like I said, I am really, really lucky. I've taken it slowly. I've left them on their own for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour with cameras on them to see what they get up to. So I know what they do while we're gone out of the house. And I know that they don't destroy or mess up the room. So that's the only reason I can get away with it, or I can let them do it, because I know that they know what they can and can't touch, and I know what they are like. So 9 times out of 10, I would usually recommend putting your bird in your cage if you're leaving the house. We are very, very, very lucky. Very, very, very lucky. And I know exactly how lucky we are when I say we can do that. It also depends if it's a large conure or a tiny conure. Yes, what's that? Patagonians are very dumb. Patagonians versus my dumb lot. Yes, the Patagonians are extremely noisy versus the little conures. Fruity Flock, aka the Sonic Scream. Yes, there is a Sonic Scream. They are that constant. They are that constant on bad days. So I keep conures as well. I can't handle the black cap screeching. Blue throats sound like bird songs. Oh wow, I don't know about that. To be honest, I am very much Pionus based, so I don't actually know a lot about conures, but yes, they are very, very interesting. Send help when the scream happens. Well, I can't, because if I try and join in, then Quaffle will come and all the scream will get worse. What are you currently feeding them? At the moment, they are on Tropican pellets, which I freaking hate. That sounds really, really mean, and I don't mean it to be mean towards Tropican. But like I said, they do make Quaffle extremely horny. So that's not something that I particularly like them being on. However, in the morning they have fresh chop. So they have Mikey and Mia's dry mix mixed with some fresh vegetables, which includes quite a lot of carrots, broccoli, spinach, sweet corn, sometimes a bit of sweet potato, red peppers sometimes. It varies. But we do try and basically give fresh fruit and veg every morning, along with a mixture of my Mia's dry mix. And then in the evening, they tend to get pellets to forage for. By forage, we literally sprinkle them on top of the foraging area and then let them go crazy and destroy things to get to them, try and find them through the stuff. So that's what they're currently on. And then for treats, they're on seeds. So the seed mix that we get out of the Mikey and Mia mixes, they have those as treats. And then they also have pine nuts. And specifically for outdoor free flight recall training, we have almonds, which is their favorites. Coffee? No? Okay, she's distracted. She doesn't want that nut. Do you want that nut? She wants the nut. Almost all of our conures have different voices, so we can tell them apart. It is quite accurate. That spin gave me serotonin boost. It's just so adorable. Which one? Lyra or Quaffle? Lyra, can you give us a spin? Thank you, sweetie. Coffee, you can spin. Can you go the other way? Oh, brilliant. Good girl. Thank you. So yes, there's another spin for you there, Teddy. Hello, Jason. Jason, Fruity Flock says hello.
Hello, Fruities.
Mango started making Juju's noises. Hello, food. Did you have any problems with finding tops? Yes. I don't know why there is such an issue getting it out of America at the moment. We did manage to find some through Northern Parrots. Soaring Wings Training does sell it from time to time when they can get it in. Scarlet's Essentials haven't had it in for a while, but I also don't like buying from Scarlet's Essentials. That's just a personal preference. But yes, tops I am struggling to get hold of. So hence why we're on Tropican pellets that we won from Pet Parrot Gathering for the time being. So it is quite annoying. Mine are stubborn and reject it for a year now. Wow. Even when I try different approaches, so I'm stuck with Harrison's. That's the downside of Harrison's, unfortunately, is it contains peanuts and quite a lot of cornmeal, which is very addictive for Pionus. I say addictive, it's a good flavor for them. They like the flavor, so they want to eat it a lot. It is quite challenging to get a bird off Harrison's and onto tops. The way I did it was I basically mixed the Harrison's and tops together for a few weeks. And basically by mixing it together for a few weeks, that allowed us to switch them over. They started recognizing it as food because it was mixed in with their normal pellets. They started eating it more, and then we slowly reduced the Harrisons and started increasing the amount of tops pellets that we put them on. So I don't know whether or not you've tried that. Another way you can do it is you can actually try mixing it with basically crushed up pine nuts or crushed up almonds, and basically just mix that in with it. That I found works as well, but it depends completely on your individual preferences. Definitely be careful if you are mixing it with pine nuts and almonds, because obviously they are meant for treat food and bonus food. Come on. She really wants to do training right now. So it is meant to be treat food and bonus food if you're using pine nuts and almonds or any other sort of nuts and seeds. Want to come? There you go. She's been lazy. So if you are mixing it with any sort of nuts or seeds, definitely be careful with it, obviously, because Pionus are sensitive to protein. So too much can obviously be quite bad for them. Lou and Kip have copied each other's voices. Sorry, Ashley just started. No, it's perfectly fine. Chat away. Chat away. We need some pea close-ups. Okay, that might be easier said than done. Lyra, can we have a close-up, please, my darling? Thank you, sweetie. There's your Lyra. Obviously, bad lighting doesn't help. Lyra doesn't really want to do a close-up right now. Quaffle. Thank you, sweetheart. And there you have your Quaffle. That's Quaffle. That's about as close as you're going to get to Quaffle, because she doesn't like her own reflection. Actually makes me laugh, the amount of people that say to you, do not put mirrors in your birds because they don't recognize their own reflection. And that is very, very true. Whereas Quaffle, most birds become infatuated with their reflection. They're like, oh my God, another bird. Quaffle hates her reflection. She wants to kill it. She literally wants to kill it. I have to be so careful when I put Quaffle near mirrors, because the chances of her going into attack mode is very high. The only time, or the very few times I've actually been bitten by Quaffle, has usually been in front of a mirror or handling something that she thinks is a threat to me, because I am her human and she's my girl. All right. Yeah. You mean spin? You wait. Very good. Like that. Now, what happens when you get too close to Quaffle? She bites you. She does. You need to be careful near Quaffle, but thank you for recalling. Good girl. Yes, it's fun. Oh God, I can't decide which spin I like more. Would you like another one just to find, just in case? Coffee? Give us a spin. Good girl. Oh, good girl, Lyra. She did the spin as well. Good girl, Bob. I know. Thank you. Can you spin the other way for me? Oh, thank you. All right, Lyra, your turn. Show off your spin. Good girl. Very good. Oh, so fun. Do you sprout for the birdies? Yes, that's a good point, actually. I forgot to mention the sprouting. We currently mix between Mikey and Mia sprouting and Soaring Wings Fox sprouting mix, purely because I haven't done enough research into sprouting to know exactly which things to choose. So I tend to let people who know more about that kind of stuff do it for me. We're currently using the Mikey and Mia mix, and then when we run out of the Mikey and Mia mix, we switch to Soaring Wings, and then when we've run out of the Soaring Wings mix, we jump back to the Mikey and Mia sprouting mix. So we do actually use sprouting, and that gets added to their breakfast chop every morning. So it's actually quite fun. Sprouting is probably the favorite part. So they'll go through all the sprouting and then they'll start eating the chop. It's rather funny. The cage I've been looking at has 25mm bar spacing. Do you think that is too much? I'm not that good at maths. What's that in inches? What's 25mm in it? What's 25mm in inches? I don't know. I should know that. 2.5mm, which is 1 inch. 1 inch bar spacing, I believe, is fine. Is it 1.5? Yes, 1 inch bar spacing. You have to maybe think there, Jeepers Louise. But yes, I believe 0.8mm to 1. I want to say 2 inches, but I think I might be wrong. No, it's 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters. You're making me question myself now. I can't remember the exact measurements because you've switched numbers on me. I believe it's 1 inch bar spacing for Pionus. So that, which is almost exactly 2.5 mil. Sorry, 2.5 centimeters, which is 25 mil. So that should be perfectly fine. As long as it's a good size cage, you shouldn't have any issues with that bar spacing. The bar spacing we have, but let me go measure the bar spacing on our cages, see what it is. 2 seconds. Yeah, 8 inch. Yeah, 1 inch bar spacing or 25 mil should be perfectly fine for a Pionus. Any larger than that, I would say no. Ours are 1 inch and 0.8 inches, which is basically just over 2 centimeters and then about 2 centimeters. So 25 mil should be absolutely fine. So I've lost track now where I am on the chat. Haha. Hi, baby birds. They both spun. It's so cute. Hi, Coffee. Teddy says hi. You can't say hi, can you? No, Coffee can't say hi. She doesn't know how to say hi. Can you do it? No? You're not doing a noisy noise? Can you laugh? Can you laugh? Yeah, good girl. That was a very quiet laugh. I don't actually know if you guys hear that or not. Can we see them playing in their cages? You might have a bit of difficulty there because I can't move the laptop because it's connected to the power cable. So unfortunately, I would say, yes, you can see them playing in their cages. You may have to find that on a short or one of my other videos though, because I can't up and move the laptop while it's plugged into the power socket and also plugged into the internet to make sure this live is as smooth as possible. Because as soon as I unplug that internet cable, everything goes to pot. Our internet isn't great on Wi-Fi. Oh, it's fine. Thank you, Teddy. I'm trying to think of what other common questions people tend to ask when it comes to Pionus. I've already covered the thing about them being not as quiet as people claim they are. They are still quiet birds, but definitely not as quiet as definitely not as quiet as people seem to think they are. Can peas as a species talk? Yes, I did briefly cover this earlier in the live, but I don't think you're here at that point, Fruity Flock. Males tend to be more vocal. Males tend to be the ones that vocalize, and it's usually within the first 2 years that majority of them learn to mimic. Whereas with a lot of other species of parrots, they tend to mimic at any point in their life. Pionus tend to pick up sounds, pick up words, pick up noises in the first 2 years of their life, and it does tend to be the males more than the females. Quaffle, for example, does have a slight noise that she makes, words that she mimics, which is more like a what you're doing, what you're up to. But she tends to use that noise when she's tired and wants to go to bed. So don't know why she tends to use it then, but she tends to use it then. The majority of the time they mimic whistles and sounds and noises. So like now you can hear them making different whistles, different sounds. These are whistles and sounds that they've learned to mimic and that a lot of peas can make, but some of these whistles are unique to these girls because I use them on a daily basis. Have you addressed the Pionus huff or pants? No, I have not addressed that yet. So and just to answer your question quickly, Teddy, no, Lyra cannot make that laugh. I don't know how I managed to lock that laugh in very early on when we got Quaffle when she was still baby begging. Basically, the laugh that she makes is actually a mimic of the baby begging noise. So I managed to get that in quite early, but I've not had the opportunity to do that same training with Lyra. She stopped baby begging way sooner than I expected. In regards to the Pionus huff or pant, I love the Pionus huff or pant. The amount of new Pionus owners I see that ask about the Pionus huff or pant on the Pionus pages on Facebook is ridiculous. They all get really scared thinking there's something wrong with the bird because they're huffing and panting and wheezing. Or Pionus wheeze, I think it's also known as, isn't it? And so many people get confused by it because they're like, what's wrong with my bird? What's wrong with my bird? Do I need to take it to the vet? It's like, no, that's completely normal for a Pionus. And it's something that I can't get them to do on cue, unfortunately. I believe I've got it in 1 or 2 shorts. I can't remember. I think I have caught it on video once and shared it on a short. I could be wrong. But the Pionus huff or the Pionus pant or the Pionus wheeze happens on 2 occasions. It happens when they're really nervous and scared, or when they're really excited and happy. So Quaffle especially, they both tend to huff and pant when they're getting scritches. So if Quaffle's really digging her face into me and enjoying a good scritch, she tends to do her huff and pants then. Same with Lyra. She doesn't tend to do them with me. I've only ever got the huffs once or twice with Lyra out of happiness. Jason usually gets the huffs and pants. Usually she's literally sat on his hand, completely up against his chest, and he's giving her a little fuss away. And you'll just hear Lyra going, and that is basically Pionus wheeze. It's literally like a dog panting, but with more of a nasally whiz to it. That's the only way you can describe it. Quaffle is exactly the same. She's on my shoulder, she's pressing to my cheek, and I'm giving her fusses. I will literally just hear in my ear, and this is like, it's just the weirdest noise in the world. And it sounds so freaky. If you actually go back and watch our first ever video of Quaffle coming home, she does actually do the nervous version of the Pionus puff or the Pionus wheeze in that video. There is actually a difference between the nervous one and the excited one, and the difference is so minor. So minor. It's very much based on body language as well as the noise itself. And the body language usually gives away whether or not it's a happy huff or a nervous huff. But the huff and pant is so funny. It is absolutely hilarious. They just sound like little pigs. They literally just sound like little pigs snorting away in your ear. It's so cute. Mine did that when he was hot. He would separate his wings. Also, when he was aggressive, he would do that. Males do. I'm not too sure 100% about males because I've never personally had an experience in males. Like I said, for as far as I'm aware, they do tend to do the Pionus huff or the Pionus pant when they're happy or nervous. If he's doing it when he's hot, that's probably not the Pionus pant. That's actually probably just a heat pant because they are overheating and they're trying to cool down as fast as they can, especially if he's opening his wings. However, he could also be doing a hormonal strut, or was doing a hormonal strut. So the hormonal strut is slightly different than overheating. So another way they sometimes do it is if they really want to shower, to be fair, where they spread their wings all the way out in full flare and tend to hold the body slightly upside down. Sometimes they'll have a bit of a huff and a pant then if they are excited and want to shower. If they are hot and they're panting with their beak wide open, that's not necessarily a good sign. That might actually mean they are overheating and they're actually really trying to cool down. There's also 2 different types of opening their wings. So one opening their wings like this is usually, I want to shower, I'm happy, I'm excited, everything is good. The second way they open their wings is more like butch when it comes to the males. So they'll like do a half wing open and they'll put their wings almost like in a heart shape to make themselves look bigger, and all the feathers will puff up. And that's usually the Pionus strut to say, I am angry, this is my territory, do not take me on right now or you will get bitten. So depends on what you mean by opening his wings. If he was also aggressive with it, then the chances are it was a Pionus male strut when they're being territorial of their personal space. So they can be a bit funny with that. What do you do at night with your peas? On a video, it looked like you left them in a room and not a cage. That is correct. They actually have one room upstairs, which is their dedicated bedroom. So I literally mean dedicated bedroom. So it's like the box room of the house, and it is specifically designed and set up to be as dark as physically possible. And so these perches that you actually see here are placed on the table, and then they are put on their perches. We give them half an almond each for being good girls, and then we leave the room and close the door. Because of how dark and black it is, they don't move off their perches. They know that that's their bedroom. They know that that's bedtime, and they know that they literally go in there to sleep. So if they go in that room, they know that they're going to bed. They know that they're going to sleep, and they know it's going to go dark. And you'll find with nearly all parrots, once it's dark, a parrot won't move. unless it's having a night fright. Once it's dark, it knows it's nighttime, it knows it can't see, and so it won't move off whatever perch it's on. It's very, very, very rare for a parrot to move around in the dark. Usually they will move around in the dark if they have a cage that they know really well, and they'll move around to their favorite perch before going to bed. Whereas my girls have preferences to their perches and their perch locations. And so we put the perches where they like to sleep in the room, and then they'll just sit down, snuggle up, and they'll tuck their head into their wing and just go to sleep. We did originally have cages for them in their bedroom, and someone here became very territorial, very cage possessive, and very, very aggressive and very nesty in those bedtime cages. So for that reason, we actually got advice from our friends, and our friends told us to remove the cages altogether. So we did, and it's been working ever since. Quaffle is nowhere near as possessive or aggressive when it comes to their bedroom, and we're not having any nesty behaviors or problems in the bedroom either. So it worked for us to not have a cage for territorial reasons or for nesty reasons when it comes to this little missus here. So no, they don't have a cage in their bedroom, but like I said, the only time they go into the bedroom is to sleep. So we literally put them in the bedroom, give them half an almond, close the door, and then check on them, usually once in the night, just to make sure they're okay, and then leave them be after that. And then we get them up in the morning, and I can guarantee they're on the same perches that they fell asleep on. So it works for us. And again, that room is specifically set up to be as safe as physically possible for the girls. So if they do have a night fright, there's not a lot that they can actually get tangled on. There's still a couple of bits in there that they can land on to keep them off the floor. And if needed, the floor is usually quite empty as well. So we don't have to worry about them getting hurt, getting stuck anywhere, landing on anything spiky. It is set up so that if they do have a night fright, they're not going to get injured, or they're going to have as comfortable and soft a landing as they physically can. Like I said, we tried cages, it didn't work. We tried a lot, and we tried reintroducing cages after hormones calmed down, and it still didn't work. She still got very, very aggressive, to the point where we'd actually go to take her to bed, and before we'd even get close to the bedroom, she'd go into instant angry mode and start guarding the cages so that Lyra couldn't go to bed. It was a nightmare. So we didn't have much choice in that matter. We literally didn't have our own choice in that matter. I saw the territorial opening of the wings when the pigeons dropped by. Yeah, you know exactly what I mean then. Literally I am bigger than you, do not come in my home. It is so funny when Pionus get territorial. It is absolutely hilarious. It really is the funniest thing in the world. If you put them in the cage, would you put a sheet over the cage at night? No. But again, the reason for that is because we have specifically set up the room so that when we close the door, it's completely blacked out. I believe I did share it in a short or an Instagram story, I think. Basically, we put a blackout curtain up, which we've actually attached Velcro to, so we can take it up and down really, really easily. And that way we still have access to the window if we need to put air into the room and give them some fresh air during the day. So we put a blackout curtain up over the window, and then we put a cardboard up just to secure it in place and stop any drafting or stop any movement from the window or stop any light from passing by cars and things. And then we shut the door, and it makes the room completely black, like completely black. A lot of people say that a lot of parrots do have night frights, like cockatiels. Bird Nerd Sophie, I believe, has done amazing videos on cockatiels and night frights and things like that. And what I personally find is that Pionus prefer darkness, like complete and utter pitch darkness. That is a preference of a Pionus parrot, or my Pionus parrots. I can't really speak on behalf of other Pionus parrots. It's the case of test and see which one's best for you. But because the room is completely dark and completely black, we've never needed to put a drape or a blanket or anything over the top. When we go on holiday and they have to have bedtime cages, then yes, we do put blankets over the top in order to try and make it as dark as possible. The blanket we've got is actually similar to that one, but it's slightly thicker so that there's no light that comes through the blanket. So they basically get a cage next to each other. We have to be so careful putting them in their bedtime cages when we go on holiday. But 9 times out of 10, because it's a different environment, Quaffle's a lot less territorial, so we don't have as many issues. And then once they're in the separate cages, we put the blanket over the top, we tuck it in, we make sure there's airflow coming in through the back so they don't get too hot. And then we make sure that it's draped over so they can't get any light or hear too much noise coming around. So going on holiday can be a bit challenging because they're not used to the noise of people moving around. And so they get quite tired. But at home, it's never been needed because they have their own bedroom. So it's not like they're in the living room and we have to put a thing over so we can still do things in the living room. Because they have their own dedicated bedroom, that negates the need to have to put blankets over, even when they did have cages in the bedroom. Would they stress then if they get caged? No, surprisingly, they don't. They do sometimes, but not always. Night cage aside, most night cages are small with triggers that were bad, really nasty behavior. So they don't actually stress if they get caged. So if I went to pop them in their cage now, for example, Quaffle will probably just sit and chill on a perch, maybe play with a toy, probably even do a few climbs and few runs around the cage, hanging upside down. Because Pioneers are actually quite clowns. They are very, very clowny, and Quaffle loves nothing more than climbing upside down back and forth across her cage. Lyra loves nothing more than hanging upside down from the rope perch. And if we put them in their cage, they usually get a bit confused, like, why are you locking me in our cage? But they're perfectly fine in there. We usually give them a foraging toy or 2 or 3, and they just get on with it and just get on with normal things. We do try and give them at least 1 hour cage time every other day or so that they do get used. There you go, now live stretching. So they do get used to being in cage more. But especially when we go on holidays, or if they do have to go on holiday at Fruity Flocks, we do try and give them some cage time. But like I said, the goal is eventually to get them one big aviary, and then we don't have to worry as much about leaving them out all the time, or say all the time, as much as we currently do. If there comes a scenario where they need to be caged like a holiday per se, yeah. So like I said, we do try and practice having 1 hour cage time every other day or so, and they're perfectly fine. They don't tend to stress. But I know when they've actually been on holiday with yourselves, Fruity Flock, they can be a bit funny about it. If they get injured and need to go to the hospital cage, again, we've not found much problems at home. When they've been on holiday at Fruity Flocks, Lyra has stressed a little bit. Quaffle tends to be fine. Lyra has stressed a little bit, but that's usually because she's sharing a cage with Quaffle and she's never too sure what Quaffle's intentions may be. But 9 times out of 10, at home, they don't stress in a cage. Hi, Andres. Andres. Hello, how are you? I hope you are doing well. Sorry you've actually come quite late to the end, but thank you very much for coming along nonetheless. The cage I'm looking at is 1.7 meters? I hope that's 1.7 meters. 910 width and 67 OD. Is this okay? What dimensions is that? Is that millimeters, centimeters, inches, meters? I'd need to know better dimensions than that. It's like just numbers without specification of what those numbers are. I would need a lot more information than that, I'm afraid, to tell you whether or not that's okay or not. Sorry, if they were smaller birds, I'd be more than happy to let them roam. And they probably don't stress because they already see everything as a safe space in the room. Yeah. Yep, that is basically the case. So I've lost where I'm up to now. They probably don't stress because they already see everything as a safe space. Yeah. So that's another thing, is Pionus in general are very flighty birds. They actually spook and scare really, really easily. They're very nervous and they're very sensitive to change. So that's probably another reason why they do tend to spook when they go to Fruity Flocks on holiday. But we actually have found that with Lyra. Quaffle, because she's had a lot of desensitization training, is very, very, very unbothered by the outside world, but is still very cautious of dangers. Lyra, on the other hand, she still needs a bit more desensitization training because she still spooks really, really easily. But that's also apparently common for bronzewings. Bronzewings are meant to be the more nervous of all the Pionus species, or more specifically, the more cautious, the more wary, the more likely to zoom off. 170 centimeters by 91 centimeters by 67. That might be a bit small, I'm not going to lie. Let me double check that. There are we. What do you say? 170 millimeters high. So that's 170 high. That's way more than enough high. That's perfectly fine. 91 centimeters wide. I'm going to have to compare this compared to me. Okay, just one sec. Yeah, that part's fine. And it's at 67 depth. Did you say 67 depth? Let me do. 67 deep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's more than big enough. You'll be fine with that. That should be a more than big enough starter cage, if nothing else. So by starter cage, I mean it's very common for all parrot owners in general. Once you actually get a cage, you will want a bigger one, or you will believe that your parrot will need a bigger one. It's a very common trait, and it happens to everyone. It's like no cage will ever feel big enough. But for a first-time parrot, or for a Pionus parrot, that should be more than big enough. The general rule of thumb with any parrot is you want the cage to be at least 2 wingspans across and 2 wingspans deep as a minimum. Height doesn't really matter so long as it's a good depth or good height. But with any parrot cage, you want to make sure it's a minimum of double their wingspan or more width and double or wingspan their more depth. So the dimensions you just mentioned should be perfectly fine. Absolutely fine. Shouldn't be any issues with them whatsoever. Does anyone here in the chat know a breeder? Yeah, no. I was about to say yes, but then you mentioned the USA. Unfortunately, bronze wings are extremely hard to find in the USA. There is, I believe, at least 1, maybe even 2 bronze wing breeders in the UK that are currently in this chat. But unfortunately, I don't believe they ship to the US, unfortunately, for safety reasons of the birds. I could be wrong on that, though. But I know there is at least 2 bronze wing breeders potentially watching this live. I know because one of them is actually Lyra's breeder. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Mike. So yes, I believe Lyra's breeders are actually watching this live. But unfortunately, I don't know of any in the USA. Like I said, they are very, very rare in the USA. Here in the UK, Duskies are actually the rarest Pionus to get in the pet trade. And in the US, I actually believe it's the bronze wing are the hardest to come back. Hello again, Sarah. No cage will ever feel big enough. Exactly, Fruity Flock. That's me, and don't worry, I know we don't ship to the US. Thank you for confirming that, Sarah. I thought that was the case. But yes, hi, Mike. But yes, Sarah, if you can see Sarah in the chat, she is actually Lyra's breeder, along with our friend Mike. Mike technically bred Lyra, or his birds bred Lyra, and then Sarah raised her after she left her mum and dad. So that is always good fun. So yes, if anyone is actually looking for a Pionus here in the UK, Sarah breeds bronze wings and Maximilians, I believe, and Mike currently breeds blue heads. Or is it Mike that breeds the blue heads? Well, and then Mike breeds bronze wings and blue heads. I don't actually know many people that are breeding white caps at the moment. White caps are becoming uncommonly rare in the pet trade at the minute. But yes, if anyone is in the UK and is looking for a Pionus, 2 of my breeders are actually on here, and I do have to say they are very, very good, very ethical breeders. They do care a lot about the birds, especially Sarah. She, like, her hygiene, cleanliness levels and care of the birds is second to none. She really, really, really does care about her birds well and truly. Mike, again, is a wonderful person. Mike actually runs the Pet Parrot Gathering that we went to just recently. And again, they do sometimes take some of the babies with them, so you can actually see how they feed them, how they look after them in the incubators and things like that. So if you do want to meet Sarah and Mike, and you do live in the UK, then feel free to pop along to the Pet Parrot Gathering next year, which we will actually be helping out with, I hope. And yes, you'll be able to actually meet them and have a chat with them. And like I said, they are really, really, really good breeders. Right, we've only got 1 minute and 30 seconds left on this live before it's going to end on us. So does anyone have any last questions that they would like me to answer? And also let me know how this live went afterwards, because obviously I don't know how it's gone. It's our first one and it's just been a bit all over the place. There's been no plan, there's been no schedule. It's just a case of just come on and chat and see who everyone is and say hello. So, but yes, thank you very much for watching, guys. We've got less than 1 minute left. How's Lyra doing with her beak? Really, really well. She just finished medication on Friday. She's not going to turn around to show everyone now, are you? But come here. I know, please. Thank you. She's not going to show everyone. But yes, her beak is actually doing really well. It's healed up really, really nicely. And we can actually tell from where it's healed that it was just the top layer of the beak that's actually been caught. So Quaffle's not hurt her intentionally, even though she does tend to do that. She's not hurt him intentionally. It has just been the top bit that's been sheared off, and it is now just healing. And the vet's really, really happy with how it's healing and doesn't feel that she needs any more medication. So all good. And there's only 10 seconds left. So thank you very much for everyone for joining us. We hope you've learned something today and we've answered some questions. And we are going to intend to do more live streams in the future. But until then, I'm afraid I'm going to have to go. Bye.